Now, Donald Trump has hit back at both Hillary and Bill Clinton in the second presidential debate after coming under fire over those offensive comments about women. And when Trump fights, he gets down and dirty. His performance seems to have done enough to head off the immediate crisis, but will it stop the flow of senior Republicans withdrawing their endorsements from him? Kylie Morris is in St. Louis, Missouri, where the debate took place. Kylie.
Fatima, it was nasty, it was brutal, it was uncomfortable to watch. Donald Trump went into this debate having to explain this very kind of lecherous video recording that only came out on Friday. And then he paraded in women who had previously accused Bill Clinton of sexual abuse and sat them in that room. It was an extreme measure. But perhaps to explain that, I should just draw your attention to an NBC poll that has been released. It was measured from just after that video recording was released, and it put Hillary Clinton 11 points ahead of Donald Trump. That is a serious lead at this stage in the campaign. So he really did get down and dirty indeed. As well as that, he's got a Republican rebellion on his hands with people like Paul Ryan, the Speaker of the House, basically saying to candidates who are running for re-election, look, save yourselves. Don't feel like you have to be loyal to Donald Trump. Simply run a good conservative race and hopefully you'll win. We'll have more on that in a moment. But first, the debate last night. And I should just say it does include excerpts from that video recording. So there is strong language of a sexual nature.
They couldn't even bring themselves to shake hands. The two candidates stood alongside one another uncomfortably, bracing for what would be a breathtakingly nasty beginning to a torturous hour and a half of mutual evisceration. In the audience for Hillary Clinton, husband Bill, daughter Chelsea, Donald Trump's wife and family, and their special guests. Three women who accuse Hillary Clinton of victimizing them after they say they were sexually assaulted by her husband. To get things started, a direct question to Donald Trump about a lecherous decade-old recording that has forced a Republican revolt against his candidacy.
And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything. Whatever you want. Grab them by the I can do anything.
This was locker room talk. I'm not proud of it. I apologize to my family. I apologize to the American people. Certainly I'm not proud of it. But this is locker room talk. You know, when we have a world where you have ISIS chopping off heads.
It was an ambitious pivot from lewd bragging about sexual assault to the evils of ISIS.
And it's one of those things. I will knock the hell out of ISIS.
Thank you, Mr.
And
Trump.
that's what I want to talk about.
Secretary Clinton, do you want to respond?
What we all saw and heard on Friday was Donald talking about women, what he thinks about women, what he does to women. And he has said that the video doesn't represent who he is. But I think it's clear to anyone who heard it that it represents exactly who he is.
But Donald Trump divined now was the time to show exactly who Hillary Clinton is, by way of her husband, smearing her by association with what he called Bill Clinton's history of sexual abuse.
Far worse. Mine are words and his was action. Hillary Clinton attacked those same women and attacked them viciously. 4 of them here tonight. When Hillary brings up a point like that and she talks about words that I said 11 years ago, I think it's disgraceful, and I think she should be ashamed of herself, if you want to know the truth.
Can we please hold
A pause, a wry look at those applauding in the audience, and smile.
When I hear something like that, I am reminded of what my friend Michelle Obama advised us all. When they go low, you go high.
Clinton never directly addressed Trump's accusations against her and Bill. But as the debate turned to the fracas over her emails, Trump seized the moment, threatening to throw her into prison if he wins.
I am going to instruct my Attorney General to get a special prosecutor to look into your situation, because there has never been so many lies, so much deception. You ought to be ashamed of yourself.
Secretary Clinton, I want to follow up on that. I'm going to let you talk about emails.
Because everything he just said is absolutely false, but I'm not surprised.
Really?
It's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Because you'd be in jail.
Secretary Clinton.
As the audience began to ask their questions, Trump began moving around the stage, looming over Clinton, interrupting her, appearing to deliberately crowd her space. Meanwhile, in the Twitter sphere, a former chairman of the Republican Party, also known as the GOP, was sending the world this. But for Republicans hoping beyond hope that Trump could save this, well, he kind of did. Listen to this tirade against Clinton, who seemed increasingly diminished in her answers.
For 30 years she's been doing this, Anderson. I say it all the time. She talks about health care. Why didn't she do something about it? She talks about taxes. Why didn't she do something about it? She doesn't do anything about anything other than talk.
Breaking with spin room tradition, it wasn't the candidates who appeared in the corral to be quizzed by the press after the debate. The Trump campaign sent out the accusers of Bill and Hillary Clinton.
He's a big man, and he touched me.
Nearly 20 years ago, Kathleen Willey alleged then-President Bill Clinton sexually assaulted her. He denied the allegations, and an independent prosecutor found insufficient evidence to proceed. Last night, she was back to accuse the Clintons again.
Hillary Clinton is a fake feminist, a champion of women, an advocate of women, does not attack victims of sexual assault, rape, or sexual harassment like she is.
Some people might feel concerned that you're being used by the Trump campaign. What would you say to them?
Not at all. If I felt that way, I wouldn't be here.
Over on the other side of the room, it was a struggle for Trump surrogates to take the high ground on policy.
It was incredibly important today for him to get to policy. And I think if we get to policy, if we get to the macro issues of security and prosperity, I think we win.
How is he getting beyond it? By sending into the room, first thing tonight, 3 women who say that they've been sexually abused by Bill Clinton and who have been shunned by Hillary Clinton. How is that lifting our eyes to policy?
I'm not sure it was the smartest tactic, to be perfectly frank. I'm not sure. I'm not saying it was a mistake, but I'm not sure it would have been my tactic.
What about his move bringing those women into the audience tonight?
He engages in sideshows and antics. That's his business. That's his life. That's not what people want in a president of the United States. We stay focused on the issues. Hillary Clinton stayed focused on the issues tonight. It's why she won the debate.
If you were an effective senator, you could have done it.
It's not clear who won the debate, but America may well have lost. The candidates clashed over Russia and Syria, as well as taxation policy, but this will be remembered for sex, lies, and videotape.
Biggest tax cuts they've ever had.
Okay, I'm joined now by Stacey Washington, who's a conservative radio show host. What's the show called, Stacey? Stacey on the right. And Chris Arps, who is a Republican strategist. Stacey, to start with you, you're a Trump supporter. Did he do well last night? Did he do enough?
I think he did a great job. One of the things that I was concerned about was how he was going to handle the questions about the comments from 11 years ago, and if he would sound contrite, and if he would be able to pivot from that to hitting Hillary on some issues that she's not been addressed. And he did so very well, I thought.
Did you understand he quickly started talking about ISIS when he was trying to defend those comments? I didn't really understand that.
Well, I think what he was saying is, and maybe not as artfully as he could have, he was trying to say that there are some things that are so much more important than what he said 11 years ago. He did sound as if he was extraordinarily embarrassed by it, and he apologized again, and then he pivoted to ISIS.
Chris, did he do enough for you? You used to indeed work for the Cruz campaign. Right. Did he do enough to win your support last night?
He did not win my support last night. What I think he did was he kind of stopped the bleeding and stopped the defections from the Republican House members, but I'm not so sure that he convinced the soccer moms and the fence-sitting moderates and independents to support him.
What could he have done? What did you want to hear from him that you didn't hear?
Well, for me personally, I'd like to see him get away from kind of the tawdry stuff and talk about what he's going to do for the country. Talk about Barack Obama, who's been president for 7 years and has never had an economy grow over 3%. Talk about the foreign policy in Syria and all the problems over there. I'd like to see him focus on that instead of some of the tabloid issues.
Did the stunt of bringing the women in, the accusers of Bill Clinton, did that work for you? How did you feel? I mean, you mentioned the word tawdry.
Right. No, it didn't work for me, but, Donald Trump is a showman, and I think it got him great headlines today.
Stacey, it's kind of nasty, isn't it? Aren't we into a deeply nasty stage when you bring in accusers? There were women there who were But certainly one of the women was raped when she was 14 years old, not
12.
by Bill Clinton, sorry, 12 years
Yeah,
old.
but Hillary defended her.
But to bring that person in as part of a kind of a political showcase just feels indefensible, doesn't it?
Well, I don't think it's indefensible. One of the things that Donald Trump is doing in this campaign is he's bringing a sense of reality to something that's previously been above and beyond Americans. One thing that I hate is how Republicans have stood back and allowed Barack Obama to run our country into the ground. They haven't given him any resistance.
Barack Obama wasn't even mentioned on stage last night.
I know, but to finish that point, of course, what he did last night wasn't the normal course of business, but to me it shows he's willing to fight for us, the regular people, the Midwesterners, the ones who are forgotten.
Is he willing to fight for women, though? I mean, those comments from 11 years ago, they are lecherous. They are really disagreeable.
I'll never defend those comments, but what I will say is it more important what he said 11 years ago or what Hillary Clinton did just 6 months ago, a year ago, last year, while she was Secretary of State, while she was being paid by taxpayers? I think Donald Trump has a little more room to go with me. And with a lot of Americans, his support's not going down among those of us who are already for him.
But he's got to win over new, as you mentioned, the soccer mums. You know, he's got to win over new voters. He's got to win over moderates. What do you think about I mean, there was an attempt to move toward foreign policy, to talk about Syria, to talk about Russia. What more does he need to do to persuade Republicans like you, forget the moderate, Republicans who are not even mentioning him in their own campaigns, to come back?
Well, I think the main thing is we just want someone that we don't feel that's going to embarrass us, and that's someone that when I go on TV or radio and talk about him, that I don't necessarily feel embarrassed about defending him. I want him to stick to the issues, stick to what Barack Obama has done the last 8 years with Clinton and her foreign policy. I think if he sticks to those issues, that he can bring the fence sitters and Republican moderates and independents to his side. I don't think it's over for him yet. I'm asking Donald Trump to give me a reason to vote for you. I'm not a never Trumper, but you know, I'm on the fence right now.
A plea from Donald Trump to give Republicans a reason to support him.
Please.
Goodness me. Okay, thank you very much. Chris Huff, Stacey Washington.